Hey there, what's going on? Today I'm going to be changing the steering wheel on the Miata. Let me show you what I purchased. It is a 350mm Momo tuner, black on black. I already compared it to the original size and it is slightly smaller. So let's see how this goes in. I did also buy a Momo steering hub adapter. This is part 5702. And supposedly this is the correct one, so we'll be seeing how that fits today. Well, I do want to listen to the first instruction, so let's pop the trunk and disconnect the battery. Alright, that looks about as straight as I can get it. I'll try starting the car just to make sure nothing has electricity running through it. Nothing. Okay, so the battery is definitely not plugged in, even though I saw it with my own eyes. I just want to be completely sure that this has no power in it. First step in the OEM disassembly is to get a 10mm socket wrench and loosen the 4 nuts that are right about behind here, here, and here. So let's do that. All 4 nuts have been removed from the rear of the steering wheel. I'm going to re-straighten it now. Looks like there's 2 wires coming from the center, most likely the airbag, and that's all I see actually. Oh yes, and of course there are wires here for the horns, and right there, those are for the horn. Alright, so I'll try to get a good angle to where I can film the rest of this removal. There's a safety string right here. Let's see if I can remove that. Okay. And now I think I just need to unplug this blue wiring harness for the airbag. Now, to be honest, I'm a little bit scared at this point. I don't like holding an airbag in my hand. I almost feel like I don't know which way I should position it in case it were to go off. Okay, I was able to get part of this harness to kind of like fall out of here, so I'm going to try to deattach these now. They don't make it easy. Okay. Alright, once again I have the steering pointed straight, and I'm going to try to take the rest of the steering wheel off. I could not find a metric size that would fit this in my tiny little Harbor Freight socket kit, so I'm actually going with a standard 13/16 size, and that seems to fit perfectly. I actually do need an extension, so let's see if that fits. Oh, perfect. So I have 2 different socket kits and the extensions are the same size, so it happened to work for me right there. Okay, I have this nut loosened up, but I can't seem to get the steering wheel off, so I'm just trying to loosen it somehow. And I left the nut on the edge so that when I pulled, it wouldn't hit me in the face. Okay, now I have it completely loosened. And there she goes. Cool. Alright, it's dark outside as you can tell, but I'm still working on this. It got dark really quick. I wanted to look up something online before I proceed and screw something up, so I'm actually following someone else's tutorial on YouTube. I don't remember their channel name, but essentially, instead of modifying the hub adapter itself and drilling a hole in it, because this area where the wires come out do not line up where the hole is on the Momo hub adapter, which is actually further to the right. Now, instead of drilling a hole in the center where this wire comes out and essentially modifying a brand new hub, what I'm going to try to do by copying this other channel is just cutting off this clip connector. It's actually more of like a stress relief, and once this plastic part's cut off, I should be able to bend the wire to the right and have it come through the hole. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. Okay, so I discovered that I need to solder something. So I went and looked and I found my solder gun, and then I realized I didn't have any solder. And at this point it was about 9:40 and Home Depot closes at 10. So I got in the Lexus and I headed over there like a madman, and I got to Home Depot 4 minutes before it closed. So I made pretty good time, and look what I got. I got a tube of solder. There is a ribbon right here, and it's very hard to tell, but there's 3 metal tabs, and those are what connected to the 3 wires that were coming out and going into the wiring harness. And I had to come all the way down to this point to get the hub to fit on there. So at this point, I am now going to be soldering the ground wire. Actually, that's the positive. Yes, that's the positive. So I'll be wiring a positive, soldering it to this, running it to the horn button, and then the horn button also attaches to this metal thing that sits on here. And because this is essentially going around the steering shaft column thing, that's being grounded out. And when this wire touches this, when the circuit is closed, that's what actuates the horn. So we're going to be working on this a little bit now. Unfortunately, my camera shut off and I ran out of memory during the installation of my steering wheel, and I finished the installation that night. I then drove around the car and realized that my knuckles were rubbing on the blinker and the windshield wiper controls, and it was very annoying. So I went ahead and purchased a 2-inch spacer from Amazon that essentially brings the steering wheel 2 inches closer to me. I also ended up purchasing another steering wheel on Amazon. It happened to be a Momo Team 300mm, and it was on sale for a lot cheaper than it usually is, so I went ahead and purchased that. So now I have 2 Momo steering wheels. So the reason why I'm missing the horn button is a long story. Essentially, I had everything installed correctly with the horn working perfectly before I had the spacer installed. Then the spacer shows up, I install the spacer, and now the silver metal bracket that rests between the steering wheel and the hub adapter, or now the spacer, doesn't fit anymore because of the way the spacer was built. So right now I'm without a horn. unless I touch this wire back here. There you go. So that's the only way I can get the horn to sound right now. But I'm working on a modification to where I can reinstall the horn button. Now, as you can see, this is a 300mm steering wheel. And at first, it felt very, very strange because of the drastic size difference. Now, it actually is a very nice size for this car, especially when doing spirited driving. I don't know how it would be at very high speeds yet, but I'll find out. And now I have two steering wheels, so I can throw in the 350mm or I can keep this 300mm in. And the nice thing about the spacer is that since it's bringing the steering wheel 2 inches closer to me, I can actually see 95% of the gauges. They're not blocked really. The only number I can't really see is the little line for 80 miles an hour. And then also I can't see the lines between 3.5 to 4,000 RPM, but I do see the number and I can see where the tack is, so that's all that counts. But I'll be throwing another video in here in a second so you can see what the size difference is between the 350 and the 300. And I'm very interested to take both of these to a track and see the advantages and the pros and cons of each size. This is a 350mm installed, just to show you how everything goes. Here is the Momo hub adapter. Here's a 2-inch, it's actually a 5cm spacer, but if you do the calculations, it's very close to 2 inches. And here's the steering wheel.